Start to the weekend. Welcome to Saturday morning. The Kings of Europe are in action against the Premier League champions. Thomas Tuchel takes his side to Manchester, take on Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. First versus second in the Premier League table, all to play for. Kick-off coming your way at 12:30 this afternoon. Good morning and welcome to Matchday Live. Feels a bit strange saying good morning, doesn't it? But here we go. Premier League weekend kicks off. Chelsea away at Manchester City. A big game on the cards. Two big guests as always, Abby and Pat. How are we? Good?
Yeah, really good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you, Pat.
Oh, good, oh, good. Even though it's early in the morning.
It is.
I've woken up.
You've been in this position before as a player, mate. This is nothing new to you.
Do you know, we kind of ignore it after a wee while. But it is weird as a footballer, you know, because you get your usual sort of get up in the morning, you know, scratch, get yourself ready, you know, eat the specific food. But it's just not like that for an early game. And they are different. And it feels a big difference. Mid-afternoon, late night, early evening, they're all fine. These ones, these are the trickier ones.
Mm-hmm. I've had my pasta for breakfast just to make sure, just to get
uploaded.
Exactly, yeah, just to get ready. Abby, it does feel like a good start to the weekend as well. Massive game away to Manchester City. Like, how are you feeling?
Oh, so nervous. I feel like this is, you know, just a huge game. It has such a big say in the title race. I thought the fact that we didn't win against City last time, we had such a good record against them this season. I really, really do want us to get, you know, 3 points on the board. So fingers crossed. But City are so in form at the moment, as are we. But it's going to be, yeah, a battle of, well, the two best teams in the Premier League.
It feels like a Chelsea fan's perspective, Pat, but I've kind of clouded over every other game. I can only remember playing Manchester City once in our history, and that was obviously last season in Porto. Everything else kind of rolls into one for me at the moment. It does feel very, very strange, but this is, like Abby said, first versus second, two best teams in the country, two best teams in Europe statistically as well on the evidence of last season's Champions League final. So it's a massive game.
It's a brilliant game to watch, and the quality of players out there is going to be phenomenal. We know Manchester City and the run they've had is being incredible, and just when a lot of the other teams have had difficulties, and for understandable reasons a lot of the time, they've kept on cruising on, haven't they? And we need to be able to stop that in some way. I have to say, I've been there often enough where they've had quieter days. They've had days where they don't get going, their fans don't get behind them, and you can just about get at them, but they're kind of few and far between at the moment. We kind of hope it's one of them, and if it's one of them, we have to make hay. Well, I was going to say, well, the sun shines. It's probably not shining in any way whatsoever, but we've got to make the very, very best of it. And that's what it's all about, getting the best out of our players, making the right tactical decisions. These two teams, when we get them in a couple of minutes' time, they will be among the most interesting teams that I picked this season. Because Thomas, he's changed his system around a wee bit, hasn't he? And he must have thought 3 or 4 different ways about it. And of course, we know Christensen isn't available, and that might have adapted his feelings too.
But we talk about that. Pep Guardiola, I mean, if you're an FPL player, same as I am, it's Pep Roulette, it feels like at times, isn't it, where he just kind of puts his hand into a big jar of brilliant players, pulls on that and you go, oh, look, Gundogan's playing as a false nine. Like, you just never know with him. But on the flip side, he's been speaking very highly of Thomas Tuchel, saying the same. He keeps him guessing, he keeps him thinking, he keeps him learning, which, you know, is probably the highest praise possible.
That's the thing, they're two of the best managers in the Premier League, if not the world, you know. And Pep, in his press conference, was saying how, yeah, Thomas Tuchel pushes him creatively. He always learns from him as a manager, which is amazing, isn't it? Because Pep's such an amazing tactician, but we're so lucky that we've got Thomas Tuchel. So, yeah, very interesting to know what's going through their brains right now and what teams they've gone for. Because it's anybody's guess at this point, you know?
It really is. Do you know, I'm very geeky on that perspective, Pat, because I love watching good footballers play football, but I would very much enjoy sitting just 10 foot behind the dugout today and be pretty much transfixed on the two that are making those decisions. Because like Abby said, two geniuses at work, and you'd love to go through their brains and just see how they see the game, because it's different.
Because these managers at this point in time... Now, to be honest, I think Pep, he made the mistake in the Champions League final. He thought about the opposition too much. There is no doubt he thought about us too much. He won't do that today. He surely has learned that lesson. Whereas I think everybody else has to think about them a little bit, because their style is so strong. You know, they hold so much possession. They have got so many talented players. You have to find ways to stop them. You know, so it may well be that you pack certain areas. So we have to think a little bit about them, and how much you think about the opposition, and how much you think about your own genius. That's the tricky bit. So you sit behind them's fine, but then try to get inside their heads to what they're actually thinking. That's the real good bit. But certainly there are going to be a lot of interesting moments when we finally hear those teams, whenever they're going to be.
Well, I think you are absolutely spot on, because I think we should probably find out now, shouldn't we? Because here is the team that Thomas Tuchel has selected to take on Manchester City this afternoon. Goal, as expected, Kepa Arrizabalaga. Back three, we think, of Malang Sarr, Thiago Silva and Antonio Rudiger. Marcos Alonso on the left-hand side. Captain Cesar Azpilicueta on the right. In midfield two of Mateo Kovacic and N'Golo Kanté. And then the front three of Hakim Ziyech, Romelu Lukaku and Christian Pulisic. Obviously a stat load of substitutes. Bettinelli, Jorginho, Werner, Loftus-Cheek, Saul, Barkley, Mount, Hudson-Odoi, Havertz. Any surprises in there straight away for you, Abby?
I don't know about surprises, but pleased to see Sarr. I'm kind of, he's been playing really well recently. Nice to see him rewarded with the start in one of, the biggest games of the season. Happy to see that. Ziyech may be a little bit of a surprise for me. I was kind of erring more towards Havertz, I suppose, but a very, very strong team. We're not messing about. No,
absolutely not. And I suppose that was the question that all Chelsea fans have been saying, Pat, like Abby's alluded to there. Malang Sarr coming in to make a back three, because you've been a back four the last couple of games against Spurs and at times against Chesterfield as well, because we've not had that many centre-halves. And when you look at it on paper, those are three of the only four options that we've got to play in that position.
I would have been absolutely staggered had we not gone for a back three today. I'd been absolutely amazed. Away from home against Manchester City, the way they're playing just now, and the fact that you have to cover those areas. No, we had to do that, and it makes perfect sense that we do that. There were other ways of doing it. To some degree, you could actually put Aspi back into that central defensive, one of those three central defensive areas, and maybe but you're then talking Callum playing as a wide player, and you're thinking we need a little more defensive security, certainly at the start of the game. It's interesting, maybe like Albie was saying, I'm looking at Ziyech, maybe Mount would have been a consideration when you need the energy there. Mount and Havertz behind, possibly Lukaku, would have understood that a little bit. But remember, they're not thinking about the start, they're thinking about the end. They're thinking about, hey, wait a minute, we might be in 60 minutes, I need some big options that can change the game. Mason Mount changes the game. Havertz changes the game. Callum changes the game. Werner changes the game. So I can understand that thinking.
Absolutely right. We are joined now by Matt Davies-Adams, who is at the Etihad for us this afternoon. Matt, we're just discussing the team news there. I suppose Pat's already kind of alluded to it. The biggest surprise from a Chelsea fan's perspective potentially is that Mason Mount doesn't start, because big games you just assume he's going to be in the 11. But we've got so many options, and maybe, like Pat said, it's being perhaps a saving as an option to come off the bench a little bit later on.
Yeah, managers like to call them finishers these days, don't they, rather than substitutes a lot of the time. I know that Thomas Tuchel has been particularly keen to try and get 5 subs brought in as a Premier League rule. Hasn't happened yet, but yeah, you look at the Chelsea bench. I think if things need to be changed, then there's definitely the opportunity to do that. But I was surprised to see Mason not on the bench. But then again, Hakim Ziyech did brilliantly against Man City in that season, didn't he? Scored on this ground, scored in the FA Cup semi-final too. Maybe that's what it's going to.
It's a great point, because that link-up play between, well, it was Ziyech and Werner, wasn't it? That twice last season in the FA Cup and in the subsequent league game as well, both combining. I suppose when you're looking at it like that, Christian Pulisic and Timo Werner, very similar in terms of work rate and end product at the top end of the field as well. So maybe that is partially the thinking behind Romelu Lukaku, to get legs and get a bit more creativity around him.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels like a big time in Christian Pulisic's Chelsea career at the moment, doesn't it? We want him to get a run of games and show us that form that he was in before he got that devastating hamstring injury in the FA Cup final. And, the form that he was in when football returned after lockdown, got the winner against City at Stamford Bridge, didn't he, that day? So really looking forward to seeing him today and see what he can do. And obviously it's made it a lot easier for the attacking players when you've got N'Golo Kanté coming back into the starting team, because you know that you've effectively got an extra man in midfield.
Well, I was going to ask you that, because Pat did a programme piece on the last home game about Mateo Kovacic. So Chelsea are practically playing with a midfield 4, aren't they, with Kovacic playing as 2 players and Kanté playing as 2 players as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And Kovacic deserves a special mention, doesn't he? Because he looked a bit leggy against Brighton just after he returned. Obviously, it was quite a long time he was out for in the end, with the injury and with COVID too. But I think in the last couple of games, we've seen his importance for the team. For me, he's really making the step up to be one of the elite central midfield players in the Premier League now. You've got him alongside Kanté. 19 of the other 20 teams, maybe City might not change theirs, but everybody else would love to have those two.
Absolutely right. Matt, brilliant as always, mate. Thank you very much for that. Enjoy the game, and we will speak to you in a bit. Top man.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just on that, Abby, and Pat's done a brilliant piece in the last programme about Mateo Kovacic, and like kind of Matt said there, he kind of goes under the radar a little bit because we're so used to waxing lyrical about N'Golo Kanté's output and the fact that he can be in two places at once. But Mateo Kovacic, the last couple of months, has been remarkable yet again.
Oh, like some of his best performances in a Chelsea shirt for me. I mean, him in the Liverpool game. Oh. He was unstoppable. Some of those touches, I was like, I don't even know how you've brought that down. I could never in my wildest dreams. And he seems like he's bulked up a bit now. He's got real strength about him, and he can do it all, can't he? He's great on the ball. He's now scoring worldies as well. So, yeah, in the form of his life, and we're so lucky to have him. He's
also one of those players, Pat, as well, where it doesn't quite get marked, but he's played a part in 4 Champions League winning teams. He's won La Ligas, he's been a part of some magnificent sides. So that experience, when you come into big games, to have him in the middle of the park, must be such a positive for a manager to have him.
And it's taken a while, because remember, when he first came, it was kind of loan sort of thing. It was uncertainty. You knew there was talents there. You could see sparks. But he's just put it all together. And he's put it all together and added that experience that you're talking about. There are moments, Abby was mentioning about that bringing the ball down. I know exactly the one you're talking about. It was on the far side, wasn't it? It came over his head. And honestly, there was a point there where the Chelsea fans out there, I was sitting watching it, they were making weird noises. It wasn't like roaring but they were going, oh. It was kind of weird, and it was that good. And he was going for Megs, and he was doing those Kanté things where 3 people were around him, and then a minute later they're on the floor and he's running away with the ball. And if you're going to go technical about it, he's breaking lines the way nobody else is breaking lines for us just now. And if we would be missing something, it's that. Somebody who breaks lines that, OK, you've taken 2 players out of play, that destroys the other team's defence, it pulls people. Maybe we haven't been able to do that because we keep the ball, we play it across, and then it's hard to break these lines because they're set. He does it. And he does it in a way that I don't quite know how he does it sometimes. So, brilliant form. Love to see him keep it up, but the mentality on top of it all just now is pretty spectacular as well.
Absolutely right. Let's get some social media reaction then to the team news that's come out not too long ago. It's from Simon Johnson. Chelsea make 5 changes, but Sarr keeping his place is perhaps the most surprising choice. Kanté and Kovacic in midfield, Lukaku up top, Ziyech, who scored twice against Manchester City last season, is hoping to repeat the magic. That's it, isn't it? I suppose you are looking for moments of magic in games like this, Abby, and I mean, that's Hakim Ziyech's middle name, Magic. That's what he does. That's
it. He's the magician, isn't he? So hopefully he can use that wand of a left foot and send in some amazing balls that Lukaku can just put in the goal. And we'll see some. I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game, though. I say that. I do think it's great that we've got so many creative players on the pitch to create as many chances as possible, but I think it's going to be tough out there. I do think it'll be a low-scoring game. Well,
let's do that then. Let's do Play Predictor. Obviously, you can have your set up until 5 minutes before kick-off on the 5th stand-up. Get your predictions in. You can win some really cool prizes every match day, but also a big end-of-season champion if you're consistently topping the leaderboard as well. So let's do your score prediction then, Pat, because Abby said a tight game. Do you feel the same?
I have to say, I'm going to go for 1-1. I think a draw away from home. I don't think it's a great result for us. I think we would love to get a win, and I think everybody else in the league would like us to get a win, just to kind of draw it all a bit closer. But a 1-1 wouldn't be a horrendous position for us. I think there are weaknesses in their defence, and I think everybody knows if you get them at all, you will get chances. So 1-1 wouldn't surprise me today.
1-1, OK. Abby, first goal scorer?
First goal scorer, let's go with Lukaku.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to want to score in such a huge game, and hopeful that he will.
Early? What minute are you going? What time first goal scorer?
I'm going to say just before half-time.
About 42 minutes?
Yeah, about that. Yeah, we had to do that. Obviously.
He's not playing Kai Havertz, unfortunately. I did have him on Play Predictor. That's kind of backfired a little bit. Possession-wise then, Pat, obviously they love to keep the ball, as the Chelsea. Where do you see the split being today?
To be honest, Manchester City at home, they just hold the ball, and they are absolutely brilliant at it. And since De Bruyne has come back, they have been absolutely unbelievable. And the team that they've put out today is, I kind of would argue, the strongest they can possibly get. So I suspect they will maybe have 60-40. But that's not a big deal. We've got defenders there. We've got a lot of people that like defending and covering areas. And we might have to do that. And if we can use the pace that we can break, Pulisic's pace, Ziyech's creativity, as you talk about, but in the end, Romelu, this is the day, big man. This is the day. This is the one where if the ball gets played up to you and you're playing against Lampard and Stones, you can muscle them, you can hold the ball. They're not the quickest. You can get away from them as well. And I think the big man likes being up there in his own. So this is absolutely a day for the big man to say, right, OK, we might not have as much of the ball, but he's going to use what he gets of it.
Just look at that as well, Abby, because obviously you can say corners on Play Predictor, but just look at that. That might be a difference point today because, like Pat's already alluded to there, you've got John Stones, you've got Aymeric Laporte, Rodri's quite tall, but other than that, you're looking at Foden, Cancelo, Silva, Grealish, Sterling. They're not the tallest side. No Ruben Dias in the starting 11 either. So maybe corners might be a little bit higher today. It might be an area for Chelsea to exploit.
Yeah, just because, like I was saying, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, a tight game. It's tiny margins today, isn't it? So it could be that we score from a corner, and we've got plenty of players that can do that. And actually, weirdly, we've now got a height advantage. Looking at he's starting 11, so hopefully that pays in our favour.
Quite surprised no Ruben Dias in the starting lineup. Actually, I'm sure.
Yeah. They have got Rodri in there. Rodri, to be fair, he's not brilliant there, but he's a big beast of a guy, and he just gets in the way a little bit. Be aware of Ederson coming out and attacking things when we get corners today. That might be what that Pep asked them to do a little bit more.
Early penalty, I hear you. Time for the social. Yes, welcome to the social. This is the part of the show where we go through everything that you may have seen as a Chelsea fan across social media the last couple of weeks. We'll do the trending topics wherever we may be. We've got a very cool Behind Enemy Lines special with a friend of the show and a member of the show as well. You'll see that in a bit, in case you missed it. But let's start with show and tell. So today we're doing show and tell, which is players that have played for both sides. OK, so I've picked a Wayne Bridge goal. You've picked a Sean Wright-Phillips goal, and Alex and Abby's picked an Elka goal, which we'll see in a second. So let's go with mine. I'm going to go Wayne Bridge first. Probably one of the most famous goals in Chelsea history. So I did get in early to make sure I got this one. I'm not going to lie. But it's a lovely bit of interchange play with one of my favourite ever Chelsea players, Idiger Johnson. Lovely little nutmeg. See you later, Toure. And then into the far corner. A man after our own heart, the far post there, picking the ball out and hooking it out of the net. Ashley Cole, obviously later of this parish. But yeah, fantastic finish by Wayne Bridge. Obviously, you know the repercussions of it. Chelsea go on into the Champions League semi-final. That was the year we got beaten by Monaco, I think, in the semi-final, wasn't it? But a big year under Claudio Ranieri. The start of, I suppose, our arrival into elite European football. So yeah, really important goal from Wayne Bridge. Fantastic servant, brilliant player, and yeah, really lovely finish. Okay.
That's not bad.
But you can beat that one, Pat.
Do you know, sometimes I just go for pure quality goals.
Okay.
You know, goals that I actually love watching. That actually I would have liked to score. So if you see Sean Wright-Phillips,
let's have a look then. Okay.
I mean, he didn't play a huge amount of game for us. Let's be honest about it. But we do remember when he scored, they tend to be good.
Oh,
and I just love the technique. The technique here is, you watch the technique, right? First of all, it's who it's against is always helpful. And so it's against Spurs. It's on his left foot, but it's actually not fully come down. And because it's not fully come down, I think it feels as if he's almost hit his shin. But have a look.
Oh,
it doesn't. Yeah. It's the top of his foot. And he's actually had to take a lot off of that. I know that feeling where the temptation is just to lash through it, get too excited. See, the good players, they take a bit off when it's a volley because you need to just make sure that it's right pinged in the corner there. It's a better goal than it actually looks, and it looks pretty good.
See, now, Abby's been clever here because I know that you've picked this one because it doesn't really need much explaining because it's a Nicholas Anelka worldie. So
it's a special goal. You two have obviously gone for huge ones, so I really had to bring my A game here. But this is just, look at that. Oh. An absolute rocket, top bins. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. And that's the goal that secured him the Golden Boot that season, I believe.
Fantastic goal.
So that's it. That's the levels.
Yeah, fair play, to be fair. I mean, again, when you've got me and Pat have had to talk quite a lot about our goals and explain them. With this one, there's no explanation. He's rocketed in the top corner from 25 yards. It's an unbelievable goal.
Look as if, I do this all the time.
Yeah, so casual with it, yeah.
Which he generally did that
season.
He's one of those as well. We were chatting about this off air, but he's sort of one of those players where you feel had such a long career because he played for so many teams. He spent longer at Chelsea than any other team. You forget that. Really big player. And obviously, you can have your say on which one you think is your favourite in the comment section down below. So let us know on that one. Let's move on to trending topics of the week then. And obviously, this week has all been about another FA Cup, another cup final appearance. Carling Cup, sorted. Carabao Cup, Coca-Cola Cup, whichever generation you're from, all of the above. But the Carabao Cup final is going to be next month. Big result against Spurs in the week. Pat, it's just an impressive result again, isn't it? We were kind of in control from the first whistle in the first leg.
The pace that we played at, that's the important thing in those sort of situations. Look, 2 of the 3 goals we scored were very weird corners. When you think about it, really weird corners. But you've got to put the quality of ball in there. Mason does just that. And of course, you need to frighten the life out of them by going attacking the ball. keeper's away waving to one of his mates up in the stand there. Which I have no idea what he's doing there. But you've got to get in there, you've got to cause trouble. And that's what he did. And of course, we've got the benefit of the doubt. And by the way, correct?
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely
all the
right.
calls are correct.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose that's the big thing is that, I mean, Antonio Rudiger playing a huge part in the game. He's always important in every Chelsea game, Abby. It's a great goal. And probably a better celebration than the goal as well, because it was a fantastic celebration, the dance with Kovacic, the tackle there. That's an incredible save, right? And I know that VAR got it right eventually.
Yeah.
It still annoys me that the referee got that wrong first off, because it's such a brilliant tackle from Kerr, isn't it?
So brilliant. That's the thing, he's so good with his feet, isn't he? And he knew he hadn't done anything wrong. He was really confident with it. And the other decision they looked at on VAR as well, he straight away was like offside. You know, he's very, very in control, isn't he? I mean, he's one of the best keepers in the world. We're just happy to see him back to his best.
Can we possibly have a wee moment to celebrate VAR again? I know everybody hates it.
Hang on a minute. It might be good.
Yeah, because he's offside. He's offside, you're right.
Straight away, he's like...
Exactly.
It's the correct call, Pat. You're absolutely spot on.
A few people on social media got in touch with me, obviously not understanding why it was offside. And I thought everybody knew this rule by now. It's been only there for about 100 years.
Yeah.
You know, you need two players between you and the ball.
I think it's one of those, isn't it? It's because it's rare that we see that situation. There was a lot of confusion over that. And I know, to be fair with you, Pat, there's quite a lot of pundits as well that were a little bit sort of... They understood the rule, but because it's not enforced that much, immediately go, how is he offside? Oh, OK, yeah, of course he's offside. But I mean, this kind of continues such an incredible feat. I mean, Chelsea have reached a domestic cup final for the past 6 consecutive seasons. Wow. It's relentless. But again, that's what Chelsea do. And under Thomas Tuchel, he's never lost a semi-final. He's never lost a semi-final. I
remember seeing that and I was like, that is just mind-blowing. We obviously know he's incredible and he's done so many great things for Chelsea so far. But yeah, he's a phenomenon, isn't he?
I can say it's worth underlining one thing about it, which is absolutely fantastic. It's happened at Spurs. It's happened at the new ground. Yeah. And maybe if I was going to put something on social media, it would be something that's been used elsewhere quite a lot. It wasn't a party, it was a work event for us, you know? Probably still parties.
There's quite a lot of actually reaction on Thomas Tuchel, and rightly, this is amazing. Thomas Tuchel's done us so proud. Led Chelsea to a cup final every opportunity since he took over. FA Cup, Champions League, Super Cup, now Carabao Cup. It's not even his 1-year anniversary at the club. This man understood the job, beating 2 class managers easily. It's staggering he's not been in the job a year. Yeah. 12 months at Chelsea, League Cup final, FA Cup final, Champions League final, into the top 4 as well last season, which again is a big achievement in itself, considering the situation we found ourselves in last Christmas, and I think we were 10th at one point. Was it 8th, 9th, 10th at some point last season? The kind of
slightly scary thing is we can get better, and we actually might be improving. And that's the bit that got me from last season, thinking we're the champions of Europe. I think we'll be better, and I think over the next 2 or 3 years under Thomas, stick by him, whatever these decisions he wants to make, we go with. And I know that players like Kai is going to get better. The hope is Pulisic the same, Ziyech the same. You know, we actually can get better than we originally are. And then we brought in a centre forward. It was kind of adds to the strength of the pool as well. So, you know, we're doing brilliantly at the moment, but it can keep on doing this, and it can keep on getting better.
Absolutely right. This is another one. This is a great tweet that I saw in the week that. So it's going to 34th cup final since Roman Abramovich takeover in 2003. Wow. 34th. And this one as well, is there a Wembley curse on Chelsea? Because I can't believe we've lost our last 3 finals there. Sarri in the Carabao Cup final, the EFL Cup, Frank Lampard in the FA Cup, and Thomas Tuchel in the FA Cup.
Don't say that.
Well, do you know what, the strange thing is, Abby, I feel very comfortable at Wembley because obviously FA Cup semi-final is there as well. So I suppose it's a little bit... Cup finals technically, but semi-finals we breeze through fairly regularly. We've won 2 semi-finals there in the last 2 years. Chelsea in finals... It fills me with comfort, to be fair, because I do feel that we're a team that lives up to the big occasion. I mean, we've got 2 Champions League trophies in the cabinet that prove exactly that. I don't quite think that Wembley jinx is about right, do you?
I don't know. There is something about the FA Cup on us, though. Like, more recently, we've just not done it. I remember when we were up against Arsenal, we were the favourites by such a long way. Even chatting to my friends, giving them grief in our WhatsApp groups, the Arsenal fans were like, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Chelsea are going to have this, and then obviously they took it in the end. So we've had some surprises, but winning trophies is what Chelsea's all about. So, yeah, we don't need to stress too much.
I suppose there's that Chelsea bias as well, and from slightly deluded fan at times, I'll be honest with you. I have ultimate confidence in Chelsea, and every time they play a game, you look back at the Arsenal FA Cup final, you think Kovacic should never get sent off. It's never a red card. Pulisic gets injured when he was at the height of his powers and running rings around everyone. Game changes on 2 moments like that. FA Cup final last year, Tielemans sticks on in the top corner from 25 yards. It does feel like Abby said there, you go into it thinking we'll run away with this. We've had 2 finals there which could quite easily have gone our way.
Yeah. Finals are hard. Cup finals are very, very hard. They're generally near or at the end of the season, so you've got injuries, you've got tired players, you've got a variety of things going on as well. I played in 4 finals at Wembley and lost 3 of them. And it's torture. It's absolute torture. And especially sometimes you think they're the better team, and you come off and think, how did we lose that? And because it is 90 minutes, and oddly enough, see that 90 minutes or sometimes 120 at Wembley, it goes quicker than any other in the entire season. The build-up's huge. You look forward to it. Everyone talks about it, and then suddenly you're into the game and it's running away from you, especially if the opposition score early. It's a very, very weird thing, a cup final. A lot of the rules should be exactly the same, but they feel quite different because it's a final, because there's no next time. You've got to do it then, and it's been hard for us. But then, as I say, cup finals are hard.
Absolutely right, mate. Absolutely right. Time then to get a little bit closer to our home for this afternoon, at least. Matt Davies-Adams in wherever we may be.
Greetings from Manchester. Thought we'd start our tour today on the bridge that connects the 2 stadiums. Behind me, you can see the Man City Academy Stadium. Later on tonight, that's going to play host to City against their counterparts in the PL2, the Under-23 League from Manchester United. That's been a happy hunting ground for Chelsea as well, hasn't it, in recent years? Maybe you remember Tammy Abraham's amazing goal early on in the 2015 FA Youth Cup final, or Emma Hayes and co winning 4-0 here with the Chelsea women's team as recently as November. Start our walk from there then. This is where we're heading to. You can see behind me the Etihad Stadium, resplendent on what is a crisp but fairly pleasant day so far. Chelsea got a pretty decent record here, albeit looking to claim back-to-back wins on this ground for the first time since 2008. Plenty of Blues have made the trip up from London, of course. The stadium's about 1.5 miles from Manchester Piccadilly Station, so you can take the walk if you like, or there is a tram stop within the Etihad campus, as they call it. That's how developed it is here in this part of Manchester. Chelsea going head-to-head with City again. Then it was the rivalry that defined the end of last season, didn't it? Chelsea with 3 wins in 3 different competitions in the space of 6 weeks against City last season, including on this ground, looking to pick up another victory here so they can keep the title race alive. There you can see it. 2002 was originally built for the Commonwealth Games. City moved into the ground end of the 03-04 season. Capacity round about 55,000 now. On a good day, they do have the potential to increase that up to 60,000 should the need be required. 50th Premier League meeting between these 2 sides today. Chelsea won 27 of the previous 49. Did you know it's only the 2nd time that these 2 have met in the Premier League as the 1st and 2nd place teams within the competition? The last time was at the Bridge a few years ago. There it is then, the Etihad Stadium. I'm off inside now. Catch up with you soon. Manchester City versus Chelsea, not too far away now.
The brilliant Matt Davies-Adams up at the Etihad for us here. So, right, let's move on to the quiz, shall we? OK, so this is starting 11s versus Manchester City. OK, so I'm going to give you a famous Chelsea game versus Manchester City, and you have to tell me who started for Chelsea, OK? 1 point each. You get right. If you get it right, brilliant, you move on. If you get it wrong, then you lose a life, OK? 3 lives each. OK, all good, so let's start. Start with the Carabao Cup final, OK? The Carabao Cup final under Maurizio Sarri.
Year?
21. What, the 1-1, yeah,
20,
the game where we, on penalties, the game where we lost on penalties.
Right, OK.
OK? Yeah. And who would like to start?
I'll go first.
Go on then, Abby.
Kepper.
Correct.
Funnily enough, that's exactly what I was going to go for as well.
That was a big drama, wasn't it? That's the first name that came to me.
Azpilicueta is correct.
Who else? Oh, this is hard.
I think your mind goes blank, doesn't it?
It does.
It
You forget any
absolutely
player
goes
that's
blank.
ever played for us, don't you?
Yeah.
Who would have been in midfield?
Well,
It's
a
not
tough
actually that
one.
long
which
ago.
2 would have been in midfield?
Under Sarri.
Ruben?
Sarri's boy.
Ruben. is incorrect.
Oh, that's one life gone.
Incorrect.
Right, I'm going to steal this one.
Go on then.
Sorry, Undersari. It's got to be Jorginho.
Correct. Okay, so let's move on to the next game then. Should we do the Champions League final?
Oh,
All right, go
this
for
is
it.
good. Okay.
Go on then, Abby.
When's Champions League final?
Hey.
Come on, go on.
Thiago Silva.
Correct. Pat.
I would love to go for. I'm trying to get weird about it. to
Yeah,
start
yeah.
with.
Get the difficult ones, please. That'd be great.
Actually, Reece played, didn't he? Reece.
Yeah.
He did. Correct.
Rudiger.
Correct.
Kai. Havertz.
Correct.
Of course. Kante.
Correct.
Alonso. I've jumped in there early. Oh, it wasn't Alonso. It was.
Ben
I jumped
Chilwell.
in early.
Ben Chilwell.
It was Ben.
Okay, Abby,
was just
you
because
can't
I
have Ben
jumped
Chilwell
early.
because I've just given it away, but for the win.
Mendy. I haven't said Mendy yet. Of course.
Great, of course. Okay, so let's do one final one, which is the FA Cup semi-final from last season. Okay, so Pat, your lead.
Semi-final for last season.
Yep. 1-1-0 at Wembley.
Okay, I'm saying Mendy. No, you're not saying he went Kepa, did he?
He did, Pat, yeah. He did.
Honestly.
To be fair, we played Man City 3 times in about 3 weeks, and this is probably the least memorable of the 3 because we were
you
so focused
need-
on beating them in the final.
Go on,
Just
name anyone.
pick anyone.
Name
Abby.
anyone.
Mason Mount.
It was Mason Mount, yeah, good start.
It's always a good
How
one to go for,
confident
isn't
were you
it?
of that?
Very confident.
It's so difficult. This was the time though when this was the difficult one because Mason Mount didn't play in the league game against Man City, did he? And I had that
And you
early
think
where I
the
was going,
obvious ones
Yes.
are.
yeah.
And this is the thing about this, which drives you absolutely nuts. All the games are happening so quick. Some odd things happen in the midst of it. So anyway, I got over it quickly. Sorry about that.
Yeah, good work. It's
I never win the quiz, so this is great news.
well, it's a good result. And again, if we have
you.
this exact quiz next time, it'll be who started in goal
After a
today.
tricky start, after a bad start, you came back.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
granting
it.
that.
Absolutely right. We've got a very, very cool behind enemy lines for you this afternoon. Obviously, Zach is a regular. Zach is obviously very good friends with Manchester City fan. We had him on the show earlier in the season. Brilliant YouTuber, Kieran Carlin. Check this out.
Cheers, Joe. I hope everyone in the studio is doing well. Obviously, I'm here with one of my best mates, Kieran Carlin, who's also a Manchester City fan. He's been on before. He's wearing the colours. Awful. But behind enemy lines, Chelsea versus Man City at the Etihad Stadium. We actually might be there. So,
Hopefully,
who knows? Fingers
trying to
crossed.
wangle some tickets.
Touch wood. How are you feeling?
I feel calm about it because we're 10 points ahead. So even if we lose, it's like, all right, only 7. So I'm really surprisingly calm about it.
You weren't so good against Arsenal. Does that make you kind of worry for Chelsea?
No, not really, because I feel like we've had about 2 or 3 bit iffy, everyone's a bit tired games in a row. But I feel like we've had enough of a break now. We had like 7 people out due to COVID, and now they're all back, I believe. So I think there's enough rest in there, more rest than Chelsea.
Yeah, indeed. Obviously, we played against Spurs, but N'Golo Kanté is supposedly going to be back. So could Thiago Silva. Again, touch wood that nothing goes wrong. What do you think of Chelsea at the moment? Tommy Tuchel's Blues got them firing.
Firing?
Wow,
Are they firing?
we're doing all right.
Yeah, I wouldn't describe it as firing.
Are you worried about Chelsea at all? Obviously, maybe not necessarily in the league context.
No,
But in this game, really?
No, I'm saying I'm worried about Liverpool still, even with the league. I'm just naturally terrified of playing Liverpool. Chelsea, usually, I feel like our games are usually quite even. I don't feel like it doesn't feel too weighted all the time.
Okay.
So it feels very much like if one team just decides to be on it that day, then they'll probably win.
Okay.
There's not really too many surprises. So you can probably guess after the first 20 minutes
Who's going to win?
Yeah.
I mean, the past few games have been kind of like that. We should probably talk about a certain game. Last year, May, Champions League final. How did it feel, obviously, losing to the Great Blues, the Royal Blues?
Well, it was surprisingly okay, just because I didn't want to get really annoyed if we lost. So I was like, well, well, I saw the lineup, and he had done a weird thing with the defensive mid. There was no defensive mid.
No defensive
I just
mid.
remember just not liking it, and he hadn't changed it in the entire period up to that point. Usually he does, and then we go out, and then he changed it for that, and I was like, well, that's just okay. That's it. And then so I just didn't hold much hope. So I just mentally didn't want to get annoyed. So I just sort of sat there calmly, completely expressionless. And then you scored, and then I was like, at that point you were, if you scored first in the game, you just wouldn't concede.
Yeah.
You would just sit back, and it was just like literally impossible. So I had, what minute did you score in?
Ooh,
it was quite,
42nd?
was it?
That's
Yeah,
texting me.
so I had a decent amount of minutes to accept fate, and so it was. It's not the worst defeat I've ever felt.
Yeah.
I would rather not. It feels a bit pointless being a European competition. You get to the end and you're playing a team that you play twice a year anyway.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
annoying.
okay.
But apart from that, I stomached it. Reasonably
Who knows?
well.
Maybe this year. Not with Tommy Tuchel's Royal Blues still going in the competition. I don't know why I'm pushing
As
that.
long as we don't play you again, I just can't be bothered.
I think there's a good chance that
I'm
we
bored
meet
of playing
again
English teams
in some way, shape or
Champions
form.
League.
Okay then, who is the one guy you're most scared of in the Chelsea team coming into this game?
Rudiger.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
Why so?
Because I feel he lives life on the edge, and and has he been sent off yet?
Not this season.
No, yeah. So I feel like we'll get to a point. I'm like, I feel like he should be sent off, and then he won't be sent off, and then I will feel like a massive injustice has happened, and be annoyed because then he goes and scores a header from a corner.
He plays on the edge of aggression very well. I do have to admit. Obviously, he had that incident with Kevin De Bruyne as well in that final.
A little bonk on the head.
Score prediction.
I'm going to 2-1 City.
2-1 to City.
Yeah, I think it'll be close. I think it'll be a difficult game.
I'll go 2-1 Chelsea. Back to you guys in the studio.
Love it, the brilliant Zach, obviously regular on the show, and Kieran Carlin, both YouTubers. Go and check them out on YouTube because they're both class. I like the fact that Kieran's kind of playing it down a little bit, but he's right about Antonio Rudiger. Loves him being on the edge, and opposition fans do like that, don't they, from a player?
Oh, absolutely. And our fans really get behind him. Rudiger's one of the best man markers for me. He does not let you get past him, and as they were saying, he plays the aggression just right, doesn't he? He's a bit of a wind up, but we like that.
Got a bit of Pat Nevins about him, I reckon.
Maybe not.
Right, then we'll be back in a bit. Time now for Max and Jason to take you through the warm-up.
Thank you very much to Joe, Pat and, of course, Abby. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Etihad Stadium. I'm delighted to be joined by Jason Cundy for what is shaping up to be a huge game of football this afternoon. Good afternoon, Jason.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Max.
Let's just dive straight into this, shall we?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Let's get your 3 points for 3 points today.
Yep.
The first one of which is to keep it tight at the back in the opening stages.
Look, Manchester City are one of, if not the best side around in world football right now that can take a game from you very quickly, within minutes. I've seen it done before, and they are very, very good at punishing you when they're on top, and they can take the game literally in a tight game. It might be 0-0 with 20 minutes, 30 minutes gone, but you give them opportunities and they can take them, and once they do, they are ruthless. And as we'll talk about it in a second, we are not as ruthless as teams like Manchester City. But having said that, defensively, we're pretty decent right now. And, we don't concede many goals. We're on a run right now where we're picking up some decent results. We're second in the table. Made the final of the Carabao Cup, the knockout stage of the Champions League. And things are OK, but we had a bad December. If you look at the league table at the beginning, and where we are now to where City are, it's amazing the turnaround. City are absolutely ruthless, and they showed that in December.
It's interesting that you mentioned their ruthlessness at the other end of the pitch. Point number 2 for us. They've got the best defensive record in the league, but have they really been tested enough?
Well, this is how they play. They're not particularly, I wouldn't say they're the best defence in the world, but what they do as a unit, they're hard to get to the back line because they press. Their midfield and the front line work so hard. They protect that back four. They protect the keeper. But once you get into them, I think there is opportunities to get in there. I think there are chances once you get there, but it's getting there is the problem. So testing the back line is tough. Once we get those opportunities, we've got to try and take them.
And you alluded to it earlier, Jason. Point number 3, one that we've been talking about a lot recently.
Yeah.
Taking those chances.
Well, I think we're incredibly wasteful, Max. We create chances. We're pretty tight at the back, but we don't take enough of those opportunities. And the ruthlessness I just mentioned in the previous 2 points, Manchester City are absolutely at the highest level. We need to get to that level. This might be a game between both sides that maybe 3 or 4 chances are created each team. They probably, going into this game, the way that they are as a unit and as a team, they more often than not take those chances. Even when they don't play particularly well. I'm looking back at the Arsenal game. I thought Arsenal, had they been 11v11, would probably have gone on to get at least a point. I think they're worth the point. I thought they played well. City weren't great on the day. They come away with a 2-1 win. That is what we're up against. We're up against one of the very, very best. When chances present themselves, we've got to be ruthless. And you take them, we've got a chance.
Well, Tuchel's going to need his creative players at their very best to break down the Premier League's best defence this afternoon. And one who's enjoying a standout campaign in midfield is Mateo Kovacic. Ahead of kick-off, Jason's been looking exactly what has been clicking for Kova this season.
Kovacic's performance against Liverpool was arguably his best in a blue shirt, was outstanding on the night, covered every blade of grass, his work rate, but it wasn't just that, his quality when in possession was outstanding as well. Taking on players, all action, pretty much everything he did was exceptional. But his driving runs as well, keeping possession, really intelligent player, and Liverpool couldn't deal with him. Spoke to Pat Nevin and he said and made the point that he was Kanté-esque, the way that he covered. But it's just his quality as well. Look at the receiving the ball, four players taken out with one pass, constantly moving the ball, but his work rate off the ball as well, winning it, his dogged performance in the middle of the park, winning balls high up the pitch, setting up attacks. Even when he was fouled, he continued to move the ball forward. If we are to get anything out of the game against Manchester City today, you would have thought this man is going to start in the middle of the park. But the question is, who does he play with? He started against Liverpool with Kova in there. Jorginho did come onto the pitch later on in the 70th minute with all 3. That's the question, the conundrum the gaffer's going to have to make. Do we start with a 3 or a 4? How do you play the middle of the park? But it counted off what was a brilliant performance against Liverpool with one of the best goals you'll see at Stamford Bridge. The ability to put this ball in the back of the net while off the ground was outstanding. He won't hit a better goal for the rest of his life. What a strike. He doesn't score many, but when he does, they always seem to be outside the box. So there's the question. Does he start with Kanté, Jorginho, all 3? That's the question the manager's got to answer.
Well, the manager has answered, and he's gone for 2 in midfield today. It's Kovacic alongside N'Golo Kanté. Yeah. How does that change things, Jason, based on what you were saying today?
Well, he's gone for work rate in the middle of the park, and I get that. I think he's made the right choice. It's tough to leave Jorginho out because he's so good in keeping possession, but they press City. When you look at the games that he's played recently, Liverpool less, not as much as that City do, and I felt that's the reason that he didn't start, but he came on the 70th minute. But the performances against Spurs, he played well. Why? Because Spurs sat off. They played a 5 at the back. They didn't press us at all. They allowed possession. They felt they could deal with us defensively, and of course that turned out to be not the case. City aren't going to play like that. They're going to play high intensity, move that, trying to get that system, that 3 in the middle of the park, 3 up top, in and around our back line, in and around our midfield. And I feel that Jorginho at times, and there's a performance a couple of seasons ago against City where he got robbed, they closed him down, he got caught in possession. I'm not so sure that's going to happen with Kova and N'Golo, but also without the ball. Without the ball, Jorginho at times cannot be as effective. If you're asking me the 2 best defensive midfielders in there without possession, it's the 2 he's chosen today.
Well, Kova, especially when we were just looking at that highlights package there, he was snapping into challenges as well. It's that desire, isn't it?
He was unbelievable. It's probably, I think, it's the best performance I've seen him put in. And it feels like now we're starting to see the very, very best of him. And today's game, if we are going to get anything out of today's game, we need that type of performance again. We know what we're going to get from N'Golo. So in the middle of the park, I think we probably cope quite well. Defensively, I look at the back line. I think he's got it. For me, he's got it right. Christensen's out, so therefore he had to shuffle his pack. Sarah's really impressed. Another big test for him today. When you see Alonso on the team sheet, you know it's going to be a back three or a back five. The front line is where I'm really interested to look at. He's not gone with Mace. I would have started Mace personally. That's why I'm sitting here, though, alongside you.
Well, that is the topic that you wanted to talk about, wasn't it? Mason not starting today, going for Pulisic, who's got a big role to play today.
Well, look, if you look at the money spent on the front three, these are the games that these boys have been bought in for. These are the big ones. You've got £90 million up top in Romelu, OK? This is the sort of game you say, when you buy a player of that quality and that expense, these are the games you say you've got to deliver. Over to you, Romelu. Ziyech has come in. I don't think we've really seen the Ziyech that we saw in an Ajax shirt, but these are the games you're saying, go on then, prove me wrong. Pulisic, been in and out. He's had injuries. A couple of seasons ago under Frank, he picked up the hamstring injury in the FA Cup final. If you look back at that season, he scored a crucial goal against Man City. He was starting to really go through the gears, and you start to see the player that we bought for £70-odd million. So you look at the money we spent. How are those players going to work? What are we going to get from those three? Defensive, I'm actually quite happy with what I'm seeing in behind, but the front three deliver.
Well, it's interesting. The front three, they have all had their seasons disrupted in one way or another. Their time at Chelsea disrupted. Pulisic missing the first 9 Premier League games of the season, but since then he's played in 10 of the previous 11s as well. He's becoming a much more important player, and maybe that just comes with the rhythm.
Yes, I'm not so sure that we're seeing the best though. He may well have started, but I don't come away from too many of those games going that Pulisic has been. I want to see one of these performances where you come away going, Pulisic had a big impact on this game. You know, he really did. So when you play against a team like City, they don't often get tested in behind. You need pace. Werner might have started today, and of course when you look at the bench, you often say, and certainly in the modern game now, how can the bench change the game? I think our bench is really strong, and you may see actually that pace that we're talking about from Werner and one or two others, Havertz as well, that can come on and make a big impact in the game. You may see the bench have an impact on this game for Chelsea.
Well, the man who's going to be in charge of making those decisions, he's already named his starting 11. Let's see how he reacts during the games. Thomas Tuchel, and let's hear it from him ahead of kickoff.
Thomas, first of all, congratulations on reaching a 4th cup final in your first 12 months. That must give you a real sense of, I guess, collective pride.
Yes, so nice to be in finals, and it will be very special. And these knockout games have a special atmosphere, special vibe around them. Like you feel it in the stadium once you enter, and you feel it in the dressing room. And it's nice we made it. Very happy for the players, and yeah, we will give our very best to win it.
Speaking of the players, the midfield seemed to be so important once again across the 2 legs against Spurs. You have different players with different profiles, but just how well do they complement each other in the middle of the pitch?
Yeah, I'm very happy with our midfield players. I mean, I said it many times that like the 3 guys on which we heavily relied on last season and of course this season, N'Golo, Kova and Jorginho, are such fantastic players, and at the same time such fantastic characters, and they are so different from each other. That makes it on one hand very easy to put constantly 2 of them on the pitch, and very hard because one you have to leave out. But this is a perfect headache for any coach maybe in the world. This is a huge mix and so important for us. Now we have Saul, Ruben as alternatives. They are doing very good. Saul stepped up in the last games. Ruben was already with a lot of minutes in the first half of the season, doing very good, helping us out when Kova and Engie were both missing for many weeks. So it's a very important part of the game. It's the center of the game, and it's nice to have players in this quality.
Now, much like Jurgen Klopp a couple of weeks ago, I know that you have so much respect for Pep Guardiola. Just how much do you enjoy these tactical battles with him?
Enjoying is maybe the wrong word. It's always a headache to play against these coaches, and especially Pep, because he pushed Barcelona to the limit, Munich to the limit, and now he's doing the same with Man City. They are at the moment the best team in England, so it will be a huge task tomorrow. But for 90 minutes, we're always up for a good fight. We're always up for some ideas. The decisions are not made yet. We don't know what they're doing, but we can have, I think, a pretty good guess. It's not a knockout game. They have a comfortable lead at the moment in the league. So I think we will see what we see from Man City in the best way, of course. And this is quite a lot to deal with. So yeah, huge respect for Pep. And his influence and his impact on teams.
There's a brilliant quote in there. It's always a headache to play against Pep Guardiola. Well, here's the head-to-head. Jason, what do you make of this?
Well, the back end of last season was remarkable. We played them 3 times and we beat them 3 times. The FA Cup semi-final, of course, both teams weren't quite at strength. They didn't play what was their best side, but we beat them. Manchester City away in the league. We went 1-0 down. They had a penalty just for half-time, a poor penalty from Aguero. Mendy saved it. If that goes in, they probably go on to win it. The game at Stamford Bridge that I alluded to a second ago, that Pulisic scored the winner, was crucial. And also the FA Cup, the Champions League final, when you talk about those games there, that is the biggest of the lot. But the game they played at Stamford Bridge earlier this season, they were absolutely magnificent and blew us away.
Thank you very much, Jason. That's all from us for now. We'll be back just before kick-off to talk you through this afternoon's huge clash in Manchester. But for now, let's head back to Joe, Pat and Abby.
Brilliant work as always, boys. Thank you very much. Max and Jason will be back at kick-off. Not too far away from that now. Right, so we've done combined 11s. Okay, so you both picked a combined 11. Abby, we'll start with yours, and I know it's difficult to pick a combined. We've had to do 6 and 5 to keep it level, because otherwise I think we're all Chelsea biased. We'd pick 11 Chelsea players. But well, exactly. In the right hand side, you can see there. So you've got Ederson, Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva, Stones, Cancelo, De Bruyne, Kanté, Kovacic, Bernardo, Lukaku, Pulisic. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
The midfield especially. Can you imagine if you had all those 3 players in your midfield? Unbelievable. It's hard, isn't it, to actually pick players from an opposing team? But yeah, I think Ederson's amazing. He's brilliant with the ball at his feet. He also comes out and claims the ball. He's great. Cancelo is absolutely killing it right now. So got to give him his dues. But of course, had to put in some very informed Chelsea players in Kovacic and Kanté.
I like the balance you've got there as well. I think especially, a front three of Bernardo, Pulisic and Lukaku. You can see that front three working as well, can't you? Really can. All right, Pat, you've gone for a couple of... there's a number of sames, but a couple of differences as well. So Ederson, Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva, Rudiger, Cancelo, De Bruyne, Kanté, Kovacic, Bernardo, Lukaku, Foden. That midfield three... exactly the same, no-brainer, isn't it, today?
Do you know what? It's actually a pleasure picking that team. I think I maybe overthought it. I'm just, because you're thinking, right, but our defence is great, so it's going to be mostly ours. What is the weirdest thing I've put in? So you've got Thiago Silva and Rudiger. I just can't see any better than them, right? I think they're fabulous. Cancelo is brilliant, and we both put Cancelo in, but both of us put Aspi in as well. Now think about that's above some serious right fullbacks. But Aspi gives you something special. His intelligence, his cover, etc. But that joyous Kovacic, Kanté, Kevin De Bruyne in midfield, it's got everything there, hasn't it? The weird one is, and I was thinking about it afterwards and I hadn't realised, Foden, the only English player I've picked there. And I feel quite bad about that because this is a special time and it just shows you these are 2 world teams, world-class teams that only 1 English player gets a game. And that's astonishing, considering English players at both these clubs are fabulous just now.
It's probably worth mentioning, you know, that number would be massively skewed, I assume. You know, if Reece James starts, if Ben Chilwell starts, if Mason Mount starts. Yeah. These are only from the starting 11s that I've managed to put these teams. But yeah, both really good. Ederson's a good point, and obviously Ederson is a fantastic goalkeeper. We've got our own fantastic goalkeeper in Kerr, and we'll talk about the form that Kerr comes into this game in as well, because it must be quite difficult as a player to know so far in advance you're going to get an opportunity from the 1st of January pretty much, you know, with Edu Mendy going to the African Cup of Nations. So there's quite a lot of pressure on Kepa to come in arguably the toughest month of the season and then play first 3 or 4 games, Spurs home and away, and Manchester City, and the Spurs again next weekend. Yeah,
he's been dropped straight back into the deep end, and you know, and he's played fantastically so far. So I'm sure it'll be another great game for him today. But this is arguably the biggest game of the season so far. So yeah, hopefully he keeps it up. And
I suppose as well, Pat, adding on to that, the fact that there isn't, we know with COVID, with injuries, etc., it's very difficult to name a specific back three that's always going to happen. So when you're a goalkeeper, the first thing you'd probably want in an ideal world is consistency, run of games, and a consistent three in front of him. And he's had to deal with not having either of those, really.
He was just desperate to get a chance again, to get us running games. And it's fantastic that it's going to be a running games. To be honest with you, I wasn't worried about him coming back, and I know he's had his detractors over, you know, the times, and there has been difficult times. I wasn't worried at all this time. There might be the odd mistake, but then every goalkeeper makes the odd mistake, and I think he's had a brilliant little start, you know, back in the team. You talk about what you want in front of you. I just think if you get Thiago Silva in front of you, you're all right. It's fine.
Because you've got to get past Kanté first to even get to him.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
it's just somebody who's going to keep everything cool, quiet, relaxed and organised and structured in front of you. But you're right, all bets are slightly off because it's Manchester City and it's a bit different now, and you're going to be under a lot more pressure than you're used to. So I'm with Abby completely. This is a bigger pressure one. This is the big one.
Feels like a very difficult question to answer, Abby, but I'm going to ask it you anyway. Who makes the difference today? Because you've got 22 elite footballers on the pitch. This isn't a game where someone stands out because they're all of that top echelon of footballers. So who do you think makes the difference today?
That's a really hard question.
It's going on the show reel, that one.
I'm going to say Lukaku, because I think whatever chances he gets, any bits of creativity kind of thrown his way, he needs to make the most of. And if he puts that in the back of the net, I think that's going to secure the win for us today.
God, I'd love that. We've got some tweets, actually, some social media reaction as well ahead of the game this afternoon. If Chelsea win today, then Tuchel's beaten Pep 4 out of 5 times since he's joined. Wow. If we draw, then I'll take it. If Manchester City win, then they still haven't won the Champions League. I hope this helps.
That's it. That'll help us all.
I like that. 1 and 2. This is just the second ever Premier League meeting between Chelsea and Manchester City as the top 2 sides in the division. The other came in January 2015 when second-place City earned a 1-1 draw with league leaders Chelsea. Hierarchy. It's quite strange, isn't it, Pat? Because you'd imagine that this meeting wouldn't be so infrequent, but apparently it is.
I said 1 and 2, yeah. In the end, it's a good start, but the start we're interested in the one at the end of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if we have 1 and 2 at the end of the season. Just the way Chelsea are playing just now, the strength we've got, the problems that Liverpool have got certainly over the next few weeks as well, and I think we'll get stronger. We've had a tough time during December, but we'll look stronger again. We've got more players coming back all the time, so I wouldn't be surprised if that 1 and 2 could be us at the end of the season. I certainly hope so. And I know who I want 1 and I know who I want 2.
Absolutely right. And I know there's no neutrals, but it is one of those games where it's going to be entertaining. 2 of the best teams in world football playing each other. It's going to be a good afternoon.
Yeah, you know that people are going to be watching this, you know, all around the world. People are going to be listening on the Fifth Stand Up because it's going to be one exciting game of football for the neutrals. We're going to be nervous the whole game, but yeah, for a neutral, a lot of fun.
And Pat, what will be the message then, the final message from Thomas Tuchel to his players before they take to the pitch?
If there's one word above every other word you need to do when you walk out against Manchester City, it's concentrate. If you turn off concentration at any point in time, they will do you. They will get through you. They have got amazing players who will see a pass. If a pass is on to get through your lines, they will make it. Not anyone. All the other teams might make the pass. They will make the pass if De Bruyne is on it. They will make the pass if Silva's on it. So you cannot turn off. At some point today, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up bringing Jorginho on to be alongside Kova and Kanté, just to kill that space. But pure concentration, that will be the last words.
I suppose, and just to reiterate that point that Pat's made there, you know, that the Chelsea bench is Jorginho, Timo Werner, Loftus-Cheek, Saul, Barkley, Mount, Hudson-Odoi and Havertz. There's game changers on there, so however long this game stays competitive, both teams will be looking at the bench thinking we've got options should we need it. It could be one of those really tight tactical games, or it could just be an enthralling, open-ended, fantastic game. You just don't know how it's going to go.
Yeah, you don't really know with these two teams. It could be like end-to-end, really open, or it could be pretty defensive, and it's like right down to the kind of last minutes for somebody to score, and people like Werner and Mount can make the difference. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Something I'm very certain of, though, Pat, is the fourth official is going to have a a noisy afternoon.
There'll be a lot of tight calls today. Do you know one of the other things that I'm kind of excited about? I mean, I do go there. I had quite a lot, covering them from various other organisations. It's not the best atmosphere all the time, but we've got safe standing in there a wee bit today. That'll make a difference, and oddly enough, I think it'll make a good difference to us. Our fans always make a great noise up there. I mean, I was up there when we get hammered once, not that long ago, and it was torture. Our fans kept on singing the whole time. I think we need the backing of everyone today, and our fans will absolutely give us it. So it's going to be a good atmosphere in there. Yeah, the VAR, don't be surprised if you spend a lot of time looking at them, but pure quality players on the pitch playing at their best. I hope it is one of those ones that's out of control, like the Leicester-Man City game recently. I put up with one of them.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, the Chelsea-Liverpool game is another prime example. We thought that might be quite a tight, cagey one, and then all of a sudden, it's an entertaining start to 2022.
Yeah, it was like a basketball game, wasn't it? It was absolutely action-packed. So, it could go that way today, I suppose. We'll see.
It really could, couldn't it? Kick-off is not far away now, so it's time to hand you over to our commentary team of Max and Jason.